There's a raging debate in regard to lowering the cost of pharmaceutical drugs. It's happening not among Democrats versus Republicans, but centrist Democrats versus progressives. Now, this is all in regard to Nancy Pelosi's bill to lower the price of prescription drugs, but it is already an incredibly watered down and weak piece of legislation. Progressives are attempting to strengthen it, but they are getting a lot of resistance from so-called blue dog Democrats. So a group of centrists, including Representative Stephanie Murphy, co-chairwoman of the moderate Blue Dog Coalition, has warned leadership that some moderate Democrats might vote against the bill if it moves any further to the left. So I just want to talk a little bit about who Stephanie Murphy is. She is a Democratic lawmaker from Orlando, Florida, and we should look at her campaign donations a little bit. So when it comes to campaign donations from the healthcare industry between 2015 and 2020, she has received about $367,573. Wow. I only mention that because here's the thing, lowering the cost of pharmaceutical drugs is not a partisan issue. So if you're gonna come at anyone with this nonsense argument about how I'm in a moderate district, I'm facing re-election, what if I don't get re-elected? Really, are you gonna make an argument that conservative voters want high pharmaceutical drug prices? Pretty sure they don't. Anyway, let's move on to another representative, Anthony Brindisi. The further left you go with drug pricing bills, it just means it's only going to be a House-only bill and a Democrat-only bill. That's not helping people in my district. Let's take a look at how much he received from the healthcare industry. Now, this is only from 2020, but so far he's received nearly $40,000 from the healthcare industry. And he is facing a tough re-election. And so again, same argument toward him. And Cenk, you interviewed Representative Ro Khanna about this legislation yesterday. Do you want to talk about it a little bit?
Yeah, so look, all the articles that talk about this don't talk about the real issue, which is the corruption. So to Anna's point about partisanship or not, well, there's a big bifurcation there. So the Republican voters also want lower drug prices. That's why from time to time, Donald Trump will talk about lower drug prices. So because, I mean, you go find me anyone in your neighborhood that wants higher drug prices. You won't be able to do it. That's a maniacal thing to say, right? So on the other hand, Republican politicians will not consider this bill under any circumstance, right? So Mitch McConnell says, dead on arrival, will never vote on the Senate. I don't care if it only covers one drug. Because what they're doing is, the so-called moderates, in fact, the corporate Democrats are saying, no, in the beginning they said it should only cover 25 drugs. Why can we only negotiate prices on 25 drugs? There's thousands of drugs in the country. The progressives fought and fought, they got it to 35 drugs. And then the progressives refused to listen because the House leadership told them, bow your head. We're gonna go with a compromise here so that the corporate Democrats can continue to take that money, okay? Now, of course, they never say those words, but that brings me to Ro Khanna. So he was on the program last night. So third hour of the Young Turks is when we do interviews, the conversation. Now, he actually mentioned the money, which is almost never done in politics. Listen, why are the corporate Democrats doing it? Why are they limiting the number of drugs we can negotiate on?
The only thing, honestly, that I can think of is the pharmaceutical companies' influence, and that there has been some deal that, look, we're not gonna go beyond these amount of drugs, and the pharmaceutical companies are running disingenuous attack ads against some of our members of Congress, which is what I don't understand. I mean, they're running attack ads anyway on the 25 drugs. So you might as well then understand that they're not going to be the allies in this. They are going to be the opposition.
So look, Representative Ro Khanna, as usual, showing courage here by telling you the reality that all voters know, but no one in politics and no one in the media will acknowledge. So it's, of course it's the drug company money. That's who we're actually negotiating with. We're talking about, hey, how can we pretend to solve this problem so we can get more voters, but not actually solve it? And the lobbyists say, pretend to negotiate with us on these 25 drugs that we don't really care that much about, all right? And by the way, we'll fight you on that anyway. And to Congressman Khanna's point there, we're gonna run ads against you anyway, right?
Exactly.
But these corporate Democrats go, oh no, my district is purple, and the Republican voters in that district love higher drug prices, and so we want to make sure that we appeal to them. And then the other guy says, oh no, we don't want this to be Democrat only and House only. But McConnell already told you he will not consider it under any circumstance. So those are all definitively lies.
He called it, Senator Mitch McConnell said that being able to negotiate for lower drug prices, which is essentially what this bill is, amounts to socialism. He said that. He thinks that this is socialism. Being able to negotiate for better drug prices is what he considers socialism. He's a disgusting human being and as corrupt as you could possibly be.
No, the government saying, no, they can charge you anything they want and you're not allowed to negotiate on behalf of the American people when you're for drug prices for Medicare and Medicaid that we all pay into with our taxes. He said not being able to negotiate is the exact opposite of capitalism. And that's because he's a corrupt crony capitalist. But so are the Democrats,
yes,
like the blue dog Democrats that are actually doing this fraud of a bill. And so I love that the progressives are fighting back and they should be more aggressive about it. And look, even when they take $40,000, the drug companies didn't give that to you for their health or for your health or for charity. They did it to buy you and it worked. But Stephanie Murphy, what did she take? Over $360,000. You can't find me a single real American outside of Washington, D.C. that doesn't think that that's a bribe. Okay, I know it's legal because of the Supreme Court decisions, but it is a legalized bribe,
yes,
and it totally worked.
Absolutely. So I want to just quickly talk about what progressives have been pushing for, so you can understand, the clear differences. But then I also want to talk about I don't even know if it's the naive nature of Nancy Pelosi, because she can't be this naive. But nonetheless, let me tell you what progressives are doing. They're pushing for a range of changes, such as increasing the minimum number of drugs that will be subject to negotiation up from 35, and fully repealing the ban on Medicare negotiating drug prices. And as the bill stands now, it creates an exception allowing a limited number of drugs to be negotiated rather than fully repealing the ban. It should be fully repealed. Also, Representative Jayapal's amendment adopted in committee to ensure it's not stripped out of the final bill because of objections by moderates would extend protections against drug price increases to people in private employer-sponsored insurance plans, not just those on Medicare. So it would actually apply to everyone, which I think that makes all the sense in the world. Now, just quickly, what is Nancy Pelosi saying? This is gonna blow your mind, or maybe it won't if you've been watching the show for a while. Pelosi's office has held out hope that President Trump might endorse her bill. Given his rhetoric against high drug prices, and some centrists want to move toward common ground with Republicans to increase those odds.
So Pelosi's strategy is move to common ground with Trump to try to pass an incredibly weak, watered down bill in the hopes that McConnell, first of all, he won't even get to Trump if McConnell blocks it. That McConnell changes his mind because he was convinced, because you reached out to Republicans enough? No, nobody can actually believe that. That's not a real thing. So, and Pelosi, I think, is incredibly ineffectual, but I don't think she's that unintelligent. No, that is just brazen corruption. Saying, yeah, my members take corporate drug money, I take drug company money, and we revel in it. And so we're gonna play this kabuki theater with the corrupt Republicans. It's not the Democrats versus Republicans. It's the corporate politicians versus the non-corporate politicians. If you don't take over PAC money, all of a sudden you've got progressives who are fighters, who are strong and smart, going, give me a real reason. Give me a real reason why we shouldn't negotiate all drug prices on behalf of the American people. We're the ones paying the bill in Medicare and Medicaid. Name me one reason. Mark Pocan, the leader of the Progressive Caucus, along with Jayapal, is saying, give me one reason why we should negotiate all drug prices. Now, one corporate Democrat can give a real reason. And by the way, if you say you want to find common ground with Republicans, great. Get me enough Republicans in the Senate that would get me McConnell saying, yes, I'll introduce it, and enough Republicans that'll vote with the Democrats on your version of the bill, saying publicly, yes, we will vote for it, then we'll say, hey, look, I don't love it, but I get it. At least we could pass it and it's a compromise. That's the usual trick they play, but here they got nothing to stand out. You're not gonna be able to find a single Republican, because don't get me wrong, most of the Democratic Party is deeply corrupt, but the Republican Party is 100% corrupt. Every single one of them is corrupt. So they all take drug company money and they will bow their heads and do as their corporate overlords command of them, including President Trump. Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR, so those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.